We are recording the podcast.
We did it. This is a musical now.
This is episode 4. How would you feel if I just sang the whole time? Should I just do that?
I love you so much. Absolutely not.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
You're listening to Thanks We Hate It, and I am Hannah Lehman.
And I am Mickey Adkins.
And you're here on episode 4.
We made it. Can you believe we're on episode 4 already?
No, it's
I
weird.
feel like we had such a hard time with technical stuff getting started. We recorded so many episodes, and now that we're like actually doing the thing, I'm like, oh my God. It's happened so fast. I know.
Finally, we have like a consistent recording day every week. Like I love that for us. It's going really well so far. We're getting some good feedback so far too.
Yes.
I am very happy with our numbers already. It seems like people are enjoying it. Our second episode already hit over 1,000 views,
which is crazy.
Which is for us starting out a podcast, even when you have a built-in audience, like that's still really, really cool.
Yeah. And all the feedback we've gotten has been so wonderful. Like people are so excited about it. Shout out to everybody who's leaving comments and reviews, by the way, because y'all are being so wonderful and supportive, and it means so much.
Yes, we appreciate you guys so much.
Yes.
Except, yeah, I did get one feedback about my microphone. I'm going to try to fix that. So I apologize if you guys made it through episode 3. I think it should probably sound a little bit peaky at times, but I'm going to try to turn my gain down, and I'm trying to be a couple inches away from my mic now.
Nice.
So I just want to thank people for sticking with me if that did annoy them. If they were listening on headphones, it's not as bad if you're not, but yeah, it's me. You know what, guys? I'm not a techie person.
That's
and
fair.
I'm new to the microphone world. I had never had a this is a dynamic mic, right? Or a compressed. Yeah, the dynamic mics that don't hook directly into your, oh my God.
It
was
whole
a
different
learning
animal.
curve. It was a thing. So
yeah.
How are you? How's your backyard going?
Oh, girl, we finished it. I can't believe I forgot to tell you. It was literally 3 days straight of laying and leveling pavers. And when I tell you, never again, never again, I would sooner like move to a different country than I would lay pavers down. Like the process was so difficult and painful. My body is just wrecked.
Like,
however, my backyard looks so good, and the dogs are jazzed.
Does it look?
Yeah, it looks so nice. I'll have to show you pictures.
I was gonna say, you'll please show me pictures.
But our backyard.
I'd add them in the
now.
podcast, but I don't know if you want people to know what your backyard looks like.
No.
So that's fair. Okay. I thought so too. I was watching a YouTuber who said that like she was like, I'm never doing a house tour. People like stop asking me for one because I know a lot of people do house tours, but there is no reason people need to know the layout of my house.
No, like from a security point of view, because I've actually heard stories from influencers who have had people break into their house and like already know the layout of it because you do house tours and stuff. But also I've seen it happen in real time. An influencer who lives in my state, in my city, posted an empty house tour. People used those photos and that video to like cross-reference with Zillow listings, found her address immediately. Fucking full pass. Like, no thank you. Not that I like fancy myself enough of an influencer that anyone would really care, but like just in the odd event that somebody really doesn't like me,
would care,
or if we do ever get to a size where people are doing that, like no thank you.
You don't need that.
It's scary.
In the content database. That's scary. Okay, well, sorry guys. She's gonna send me pictures of her backyard, and you guys don't get to see it. But
I post the odd glimpse or two on my Instagram story every now and again when my dogs are being cute,
but not like a full layout.
No.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
But yes, the backyard is done. It looks incredible, and I've already had lizard time just laying on my pavers in the sun. So
you've been a lizard to lay on. That's amazing. Yeah. Do your dogs like it? Okay. Do your cats like it okay? Do your cats get to go outside?
No, we live
there's too many raptors there.
Yeah, there's like coyotes and bobcats that like actually roam through our real ass backyard and like our street and stuff, so the cats don't go outside. But the dogs love it. The dogs are obsessed with the turf. So
that's amazing. I can't wait to see it.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's it's gonna be my birthday in June.
Mm-hmm. Are you
And
excited?
I'm turning 32. So I have mixed feelings.
fair.
I decided to have a birthday party this year though. So I'm like kind of excited about that.
I love that.
should
Are you
have
going to do a
passed
big
by
thing
the-
or just something small?
No, just like my college group of friends. Like I
Yeah.
said, I told you, sorry, I'll explain to everybody else. I don't want to be vague. I have a group of friends from college that
Yeah.
we've been friends since college because we were all roommates in college, and we have continued to hang out since then. And like all the guys in the group now have wives or like fiancés, so the group
Cute.
has expanded. But all the girls, like I love all the girls in the group, so like we are all friends, and then like we get together and have like giant group things. So I'm probably just gonna do something
sweet.
with them.
Yeah.
But I told them I was like thinking originally just doing a dinner over by me. I don't live in the city of Seattle, and I told them that maybe I could be convinced to actually drive over to Seattle. And that's a big deal for me because they know that I hate driving over to Seattle. So if my friend Zach will drive me over there, like maybe he and his girlfriend will let me hitch a ride with them because they live kind of close to me, and then I can hitch a ride. So I might even go over to Seattle. And my other friend, another guy in the group, just texted me this morning and asked me if he could order me a dread cake from a bakery, which I was like, that is so sweet. What is a dread cake? And he was like, I just think it would be cool, since you like all the dark and spooky stuff, if we got you like a black cake with like skulls and gothic stuff on it and stuff like that for your birthday.
That's so cute.
What the fuck? He's so sweet. I was
adorable.
like, you do not have to do that. But oh my God, I know. It made me feel like, I just want to remind people that like little things like that make other people feel special. Like it's just like, that made me feel so, oh my God. Like I'll post a picture of.
Yes.
That comes, like I'll post that on Instagram and stuff.
Aww,
so I'm just
sweet.
like, my heart's just like full right now, and just like excited for seeing all my friends. I love being the center of attention. Like the birthday, I don't really like getting older, but the birthday aspect itself, like I'll probably wear that super, remember that dress I wore in Vegas that was like, that was
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Iridescent with the shoes and stuff. Like I'm probably gonna wear that because I want to be extra, and I'm like, everybody needs to pay attention to me and make me the center of attention. Like no, I'm just kidding, but I do want to be like,
birthdays are special.
I do. I am not that type of person that doesn't like I like it when there's a fuss over me. I appreciate it. I think it's fun. So I didn't have a birthday party the last 2 years. The first year.
And with COVID and stuff,
with COVID, and then for my 30th birthday, I was just like thankful to be alive because it was 6 months after I got out of the hospital. And the next year, what was last year? I don't know. I was just like, man, fuck it, I don't want to do anything. And so what, I decided, you know what, this year I should do something. So I'm just very excited about that.
I love that.
That's it. Yep. Getting old, having an existential crisis.
Word.
Every year. So it's fine. And other than that, I'm just like overwhelmed by the mess in my apartment and not feeling motivated to clean it because I'm moving in June anyway. I'm sure you could relate to that. And like also trying to get ahead on videos for my main channel. So you feel me.
I do. They do.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So that's all that's new with me. Everything else is
I love that.
The status quo, on par with everything else. So what are you going to talk about this week? I think we're doing two topics this episode. I think we're going to go back to two topics.
I'm going to do my best to keep it as succinct as possible because we all know that I struggle with this in the first place. But on top of that, I am going to talk about the thing that I am the annoying person at parties who tells people stories that they didn't want to hear, that nobody asked for. It's also usually unrelated to the subject matter, but it's like the info dumping thing. It's like a special interest that I'm like, I know a lot about this. Do you want to hear about it? And like, no, usually people don't. But I can talk about whatever I want on our podcast. So I'm telling the story of Lisa Frank today because it's close to my heart. And there's a lot that people don't know. And if you're not aware, Lisa Frank was founded and it's like based in Tucson, which is where I live. The factory is still here, and there's lots of like local lore about her and the factory and the business and like the whole story. So I'm telling that today.
I am so excited. I knew that Lisa Frank was not what everybody thought it was. Like I knew that there was a dark history, but I don't know the details. So I am very excited.
I am too.
I was totally a Lisa Frank girl as a kid. Like loved.
Did you have a favorite character?
No, I just got no, I wasn't that deep into it. I just like anything that we passed by in Target when I was a kid, if it had Lisa Frank on it, like the journals and the pens and stuff, I was like, Mom.
Yes.
So that was the extent of
Fair enough. Okay. Do you want to give everybody a preview of what you're talking about, or do you want me to just get into it?
Oh, yeah, I can. Mine shouldn't be like too long. We can make it as long as short as we want. Mine is going to be a TikTok drama that is probably going to be old by the time this comes out, but it actually is an interesting discussion overall about clout and the lengths people will go to get clout.
Yep.
So
that's kind of the theme of our episode today. Is,
and that is
we hate clout chasing a little bit.
Yes, we really do.
Lisa Frank kind of did the same thing.
In unethical circumstances. I think some clout chasing is like understandable. Like we're on YouTube. We can't really say that we're not clout chasers, but unethical clout chasers.
Yes.
So,
okay. Okay,
Go
so
off, girl.
Before we get into it, I want to give a shout out. I am sourcing a lot of this information from a Jezebel article that came out in 2013 that's called Inside the Rainbow Gulag, The Technicolor Rise and Fall of Lisa Frank. Jezebel went deep into the story, and they got like interviews and like inside perspectives from people who worked at the factory, who were close to Lisa Frank. So anything that I'm citing in there is like, first of all alleged, to be super clear. From my understanding, Lisa Frank has a history of being particularly litigious. So we'll be using lots of protective language again this week, but also, I just want to give credit where credit is due. So
awesome. I'll probably link some further reading down below because I'll have a few links in mine too. So I think so. We'll probably like sources / further reading if you guys want to deep dive it for yourself.
Yeah, highly recommend because it's a very interesting article. Obviously, we don't have time to recap the whole thing.
Sure.
But first and foremost, the thing that I want to talk about is like the origin of Lisa Frank and like how did she become who she is.
I don't think everybody knows who Lisa Frank is, especially if we have Gen Zers listening. They might not know.
So Lisa Frank was a brand. I mean, she's a person. That's like her real name. But also it was a very popular brand in the 90s and into the early 2000s. They got their start with this very brightly colored stationery and school products and like office supply kind of stuff, like stickers, some like toys and stuffed animals, but a lot of it was school supplies, folders, pencil holders, pens, pencils, journals, like the whole 9. They were famous for having these like animal drawings that were like very anthropomorphic and cute and just like very colorful, neon, like that kind of a vibe. If you're not familiar with Lisa Frank specifically, you probably have seen some of her products before and just not really put the name to them. There was like whole series of animals and characters that had like their own like backstories and like this whole thing. It was like very, very deep, the Lisa Frank universe. And they went through different iterations too. Like in the early 90s, there was a lot of like animals and stuff. And then in the later 2000s, there was like aliens and like, you know, neon technicolor sundaes and like food products and stuff. But yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's a whole genre though of its own, basically. It's become an entire kind of like the My Little Pony lore in a way, even though they're totally different things. But
yeah. And it was very much a cultural moment too. You were like one of the it girls if you had Lisa Frank stuff and if you had all of the pieces of one particular collection. And now it's kind of having like a little bit of a comeback because of Gen Z's interest in like the 90s and early 2000s. People are like reviving their interest in it. But the origin of like how Lisa Frank became to be is something that people don't really talk about, and I think that we should, because it's very much a tale of allegedly a white woman appropriating the art from particularly indigenous folks here in Tucson, selling that to sort of get her feet under her to like get a business started, and then she snowballed that into, in my opinion, what ended up being a right place, right time, accidental explosion of success. And then like a very woefully mismanaged business that ended up in the failure of the company as we know it.
Huh.
Do you have input?
Tell me everything.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
First and
I'm not
foremost-
surprised whatsoever, but I'm very excited to hear
Yes.
about all of this.
So,
because I mean, most stuff that we know today, I feel like is ripped off from
Yes.
indigenous.
Yes.
women.
So Lisa Frank was a college student here in Tucson and wanted to make some extra money. Also of note is that allegedly Lisa Frank comes from a well-to-do family, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but like is important for us to be aware of when we talk about the business practices and just like how she got started also, because there is kind of this attitude, right, about like people who start these small businesses and are this like Cinderella story, and like, no, Lisa Frank came from a well-to-do family and wanted to make some extra money when she was in college. And so she would buy things at local craft fairs here in Tucson from local small artists and then go back to where she was from, somewhere in the Midwest. I can't remember specifically. I'm sure it's in the article. And then resell those items, sometimes allegedly claiming them to be her own. There's not a lot of firsthand accounts about whether that's true or not, but the rumor, the word on the street is that she did sometimes claim them to be her own because, and I know this, because there is a fervence with which people chase Lisa Frank memorabilia. It's a whole thing. We're going to get into it later. But some of the items that fetch the highest prices are items that were never for sale in the first place, like all of the display material from the original Lisa Frank stores, and also the original artwork pieces that she created and then resold. So there are things like Betty Boop brooch pins that have her signature scrawled on the back, that the rumor is that she didn't actually create those. They were made by a local artist here in Tucson that she then resold to somebody in the Midwest claiming it as her own. And we don't know, to be clear, we don't know if this is true. That's just the rumor. And also why those pieces are so highly sought after is because they weren't mass produced. They were just little one-offs.
You little unique pieces. What decade was this again? I'm sorry if you already said that.
So this was the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, probably late 80s at this point.
So not that long ago. Yeah. 30 years ago or so.
So that, first of all, is of note when we talk about the business. But as she gained more success and people really liked buying stuff from her, she started to create some of her own original designs. This is where the birth of these like very cartoony, anthropomorphic, neon colored animals and all of that kind of stuff came from, right? The business generally, like that, like how it took off and all of that is not like particularly interesting. The real good stuff, the like meat and potatoes of the gossip, happens after she already founded the brand. So at the time, Lisa Frank founded this brand with all of her original designs. The like original material that she started the business with were things that she created. And so like, you know, credit where credit is due. She is an artist. She is like a talented, you know, artist and or graphic designer in some aspects. However, as the business expanded, because the brand came into success way faster than she thought it would. This is why, in my opinion, it's very much a story of like right place, right time, because in the 90s, everything was very colorful, right? Like this is something I've griped about as a person. I'm really frustrated by the like sad beige everything aesthetic that's happening. I hate it. My house is filled with like big, gaudy, ugly furniture. I love colorful things.
I love the beige.
Yes, it's a thing. Like the fundy influencer to like home design, like lifestyle Venn diagram is very interesting to me because the commonality there is just like an absence of color and personality in like one's own garments, but also like people's homes. I've seen real baby birthday parties where the balloons are fucking different shades of brown, Hannah. It's so sad.
Okay,
really
but to be fair, maybe those people are having gender neutral baby showers so that
but also
if they have more kids they can use all those clothes for all the kids.
Like, but I mean I'm talking about like kids' birthday parties, like first and second birthday parties, and like
just
a
to make it Instagrammable
is gender neutral, right? Green.
No,
yellow.
I know. But like the traditional, like I know I've known families that like do green for their baby shower because then if they had a girl if they have a boy and then they have a girl, they can use all that stuff. Not that you can't use the other stuff, but you know what I mean.
But
okay,
I think,
can I just say I like beige aesthetic.
Which is fine. Yeah. That's not
I like
my business.
colorful aesthetic too, though, as you could tell.
Yes.
But I do kind of like the beige aesthetic as well. We're not
And
shitting on the beige aesthetic, but I get it.
There's nothing wrong with liking
yes.
the beige aesthetic. That's none of my business.
I know.
But
sorry, we're derailing. I'm sorry.
For me, the point that I'm making is that for me, as a child of the 90s, where everything was very colorful, right? Like even fast food restaurants in like recent years have started to take the color out of their branding materials or to consolidate to one color. And this was like back in the day when McDonald's had like the like big purple monstrosity and the Hamburglar and like all of these characters were like very brightly colored, like very cartoonish, right? Like it was a very fun time to be a kid because cartoons were really colorful and expressive and loud. And so like this was just very much a cultural moment that we were having where things were very expressive, and it wasn't any different for school supplies, right? Like we really valued having things that were interesting and exciting. And so kids just gravitated towards this stuff in numbers that Lisa Frank was not anticipating. So the business exploded overnight. They started actually doing factory tours here in Tucson, which is a thing they don't do anymore. And I fucking wish that they would.
Yeah, that sounds so fun.
I know. But so the business expanded in a way that I think they probably weren't expecting, which meant then that in order to keep up with demand, Lisa Frank had to hire new graphic designers and artists to help, you know, put out new shit, right? They can't have like the same catalog of 6 characters over and over again. They were putting out new designs and new stuff. And so they hired new designers to do that, which is where we run into problems. The rumors here in Tucson, and to be clear, I didn't grow up in Tucson, so this is all stuff that I learned secondhand by talking to people who've lived here their whole lives. But Lisa Frank at the time, you know, would put out ads in the newspaper, as one did in the 90s, to find employees and graphic designers and whatever. And they historically had a very hard time finding new people to work for them because the rumor was that the Lisa Frank factory was absolute hell on earth. It was not a fun place to work. Lisa Frank herself had a pretty harsh reputation as being not a good boss and also just like a very difficult person to be around. But the real problem was her husband. Let me find his name because it's also of note when we talk about her fucking kids later, who are adults now, by the way. So Lisa Frank married James Green and then had 2 sons with him subsequently in later years. But all of the rumors about most of the mistreatment and the terrible working conditions were usually centered on her husband, James Green, because the rumor, this is all alleged, to be so super clear, we can't verify that any of this is factual. But the rumors were that her husband had a wicked coke problem and also a terrible temper. So let me read you some of the accusations from this article about the way that they handled working conditions in this factory, because it's haunting. Okay, so first of all, it's important to note that this factory in its heyday was giant. It's a huge building. I've driven by it here in Tucson. It's this big rainbow colored monstrosity with like 20 something freight like loading doors for semi trucks to back up into and like have shipments of stuff delivered and put in there. It's a giant fucking building. And in its heyday, it was filled with employees and people doing product fulfillment and product design and all of this stuff, right? But the rumors are that when James Green would have a meltdown, he would be, I don't know, like mad at somebody for doing something, for being late, for saying something wrong. One of the allegations is that he actually locked and chained the doors during business hours and told people, you will not leave until you've completed the designs that I've told you you're supposed to complete. And we're also allegations that he and Lisa would get into arguments in his office and things would get thrown, things would get broken. And then she would come out in tears and tell people, you know, oh, it's okay. Or she would privately confide in people, apparently, allegedly, sometimes how much she hated her husband.
Oh my God.
Yes, there was also a lot of fear from employees about being verbally dressed down. There are allegations that putting something in a design that Lisa didn't like, or putting something in a design that was just like not what she wanted, would cause them to get like put in the center of the room in front of all of the other designers and berated and told all kinds of awful personal insults. Not just like this design is bad, but like being personally verbally berated for amounts of time that were troubling. Yeah. Go ahead.
My God. I have to look up a picture of her so that I can conceptualize.
Oh, good luck,
all of
because
this.
that's the other thing, is that Lisa Frank is famous for hating having her picture taken. I can find a couple. There's a few on the internet. But she did an interview, like a video interview with a company a couple of years ago, where she did allow them inside the factory, because that's another thing that we're going to get into, where she let people inside the factory to show them around and blah, blah, blah. But she refused to be filmed. She refused to have her face filmed. She allowed them to film her from the back and like some of her like torso down. But she's famous for not wanting her picture recorded. And also some of the allegations were that she was incredibly vain. She was incredibly self-obsessed with her image and her appearance and just very insecure.
So
And
she
would
didn't
also
like the way the camera would pick her up then.
Yes.
Basically.
Well, and she's
There's
also
a couple
apparently like
pictures.
allegedly very insecure about the way that she looks as she continues to age.
Right. There is a few pictures of her that exist. But you're right. Very, very few. Mm-hmm. She looks kind of like I imagined her to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the quotes from the article was from somebody that had close contact with her back in the day. This says, quote, "It was the silliest setup I had ever seen. Of course, from the outside, it's colorful. You've got the rainbows, the stars, the hearts on the building, the statue of the panda. But inside, it was like an abusive alcoholic home." There are also allegations.
Terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Just absolutely haunting.
That sounds like a nightmare. Yeah.
And I think it's important to note, too, that like these allegations are not just one-offs. Like it was to the point where people who were graduating from the U of A with graphic design or art degrees or whatever, the word on the street was that like, don't fucking respond to those ads for the Lisa Frank factory because they promise that they'll pay you well. But it was like well known in the community that like, this is not a place that you want to be. Even as like a sort of lowly factory worker who was just doing product fulfillment or whatever, the word on the street was that you don't go apply at the Lisa Frank factory unless you are hard up for money, unless you have literally no other options. Don't go there, because the allegations got to the point where they were so common that it was just accepted in the city as like, her and her husband are nuts.
Gosh.
They're bad people. They're mean. And also some of the allegations are that they were not actually very adept business owners. One of the quotes from the article was somebody alleging that like, I don't think her or her husband were, what does it say? Like, I don't think they had a lot of business acumen. Lisa's parents funded the start of her company. She's an artist, not a business person. And a lot of the employees that were interviewed for the Jezebel article, this is quote, "Those who were interviewed for the story all said the same thing. The current state of affairs is unsurprising to them and was a long time coming thanks to chronic mismanagement from both Frank and Green." And so this kind of brings us to now. Lisa Frank as a company is mostly defunct. Like they do licensing deals. You've probably seen like there was a makeup palette that they sponsored, or like they licensed their brand to be used in a makeup palette in partnership with Ulta. They partnered with Crocs recently. And so they do these licensing deals where basically they lend the likeness of their characters and their branding material to be used in other products. But Lisa Frank as a company does not produce product anymore. That factory is empty, save for the lobby, which by the way is haunting because I've been to the building. I've like driven around it. It's like a thing people
Are
do.
you allowed to go into the lobby?
No, there's fences all around the factory. There are actual videos on TikTok, which by the way, I want to be super clear. If you live in Tucson, don't fucking go there and hop the fence. Don't try to invade their privacy or like no, I'm so serious, because first of all, people have done this. And second of all, people get sued. She calls the cops on people all the time and you can get arrested, like for real. She's very, very
protective.
She's sensy. But you can see from the outside and from the people who have broken the law to jump the fence and look through the lobby that she has all of these big acrylic statues of her characters. So there's this giant gumball machine. There's a panda painter in there. There's some unicorns. There's the kitten ballerinas. There's the puppies, the like little Dalmatian puppies with the paintbrushes. They're huge, Hannah. I'll have to send you a picture. And you can put it up in post if you want. But they're fucking giant and they're terrifying.
They're still there. I was going to say that sounds like animatronic nightmare.
Yes, it's giving Five Nights at Freddy's.
I was going to say Five Nights at Freddy's kind of vibes.
Yes, and the worst part is that
someone should make an ARG out of the Lisa Frank.
Honestly,
factory.
Someone should. It would be scary as fuck. Because if walls could
have
talk,
to break a lot of laws. You what?
If walls could talk, that factory would
Yeah.
tell some stories, man. It's seen some
Yeah.
shit. The other thing about this whole situation that's so fucking creepy is that Lisa Frank still works there.
That's what I was just thinking. If it's basically defunct, why is she like around the building calling the cops on people?
Because she still technically owns and runs the business, even though it's, in my opinion, probably not very profitable anymore. And she uses that building. And my personal theory about why she hasn't abandoned the space, because they do try to lease out the surrounding factory space, mind you. It's been up on commercial
Seems
real
like a
estate.
waste of money to not, yeah.
Yeah. It's been up on commercial real estate listing for a long, long time. And they do sometimes lease out that factory space to other people. But she maintains like the private office. My theory about why she hasn't left is because they have a fireproof vault. It's like a safe in that building with all of her original designs in it. She showed it in an interview. So all of the like pen to paper artwork that she created in the 90s is in that vault. And I don't think she's equipped to like move that to her house.
I was
it's
gonna
like
say,
built into the
she's
building.
She's gotta be wealthy. Like she's gotta still make a ton of residual income off of that. So why doesn't she just move it to a smaller place?
I don't know.
But God, she's acting like it's Area 51 or something.
It's intense. And the funny thing is that if she would just let people in the building and do tours and stuff, people would not be violating her privacy.
Right. Nobody would care.
No, she does this weird privacy.
Charge $10
like,
for a tour.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me of Daft Punk a little bit, like with the helmets and stuff. Like, are you okay? Like, why are you being so weird about it? Because at least Daft Punk is cool, you know? Like, at least I get it.
Yeah.
Like, why they did that. But Lisa Frank is just weirdly protective about her image and the factory and the whole thing. So on top of all of that, like all of these terrible allegations about how she mistreated and mismanaged this company and had this like very public meltdown, apparently still works at this factory. But the thing that just really tickles me about this whole situation is that her sons, or son rather, she has 2 sons. I just want you to guess, Hannah, what do you think? Because keep in mind, her son's last name, both of their last names, is Green. What do you think she named her kids? Just off the dome, just make a guess.
Oh no.
It's embarrassing. I'll give you that clue.
Grassy.
Close.
Grassy Green and Froggy Green.
Hunter and Forrest. Why did she do that to her children? Why would you do that? Also, of note is that there are 2 Lisa Frank characters named Hunter and Forrest.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
So,
Hunter Green and Forest Green. Wow.
So one of her sons, I can't remember which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's Forrest.
Uh-huh.
It might be Hunter. Still
Well, there's only 2.
Still runs the business.
Of course.
The Lisa Frank TikTok
Why
is
wouldn't
so
they?
sad and depressing.
He never has to work a day in his life.
Yeah. He puts on the like little character suits of like the little cheetah guy. I can't remember his fucking name. I think it's Forrest, honestly. I think the cheetah character's name is Forrest. He puts on that little suit and does little dances on the TikTok account trying to promote their most recent licensing deal with whatever product they're shilling this week. But it is like the most strange, uncanny valley.
And he's running the business? Like
Yes.
he's the new CEO and he's dressing up in costumes and dancing on TikTok?
Yeah.
Literally.
Also like
because
literally
he doesn't have
in
to
the
do
parking lot.
anything.
Literally in the parking lot of the factory.
Because he's just like getting a bunch of money from mommy and doesn't actually need to do anything.
Those are the vibes. There is also video of him like doing his little TikTok dances in front of their house and just like being super weird and embarrassing.
Oh my god.
But people beg them all the time on social media, please release new product, and they won't do it. They won't release anything. They do some licensing deals, but other than that, the company is like basically defunct, which is crazy because the demand for Lisa Frank products hasn't really gone away. Like people still want them to produce stuff. It's like
if they
the
made a
nostalgia
comeback,
thing.
Yeah, if they made a comeback, people would go crazy. Like everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody would be buying that. Like their pre-sale would probably sell out if they made.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my
but
gosh.
quite frankly, I don't think that they have the capacity to be doing that anymore because they have no employees as far as I'm aware. I think they have like
nobody
maybe
wants
a
to work
few.
for them.
Yeah. But it's mostly Lisa and her son, maybe the other one. I don't think the other one's really involved. But her and her husband got a very public divorce.
So she's still married to the guy. Oh no.
No.
Sorry. Okay.
She had a very public divorce from James in like her kids' adolescent years.
Gotcha.
After they had had enough knockdown, drag out fights at the factory. I guess they decided that that was enough. And so she divorced him, thank God. But now he is he's a fundy, basically. He runs some like Bible, like revival ministry company. He's married to some other woman. Oh, because he had an affair. Surprise.
Yeah.
He's married to the woman that he cheated on Lisa Frank
Allegedly,
with, and they run a
or
weird
it's
ministry
confirmed
together.
That he married the woman he had an affair with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, all that tracks.
Yeah.
Like with the way, with the allegations against him.
Yeah. So yeah, now Lisa Frank and one of her sons just sometimes apparently go to their very large and empty and spooky factory and hang out in the lobby and in their little office doing stuff. Doing not really much of anything. This is also like a separate side story. I've actually emailed them before to ask them a question because I used to know somebody who was like very into Lisa. That's how I know all of this, is because I was sort of tertiarily involved in like a lot of interest for the brand and like the old stuff, which is another thing, by the way. If you have Lisa Frank memorabilia from when you were a kid and you want to keep it. But also if you're like hard up for cash, you can sell that stuff for an insane amount of money. I'm so serious.
I don't think I have any of mine. I think
you
we
can
recycled
sell
it or just tossed it all, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, some of the most expensive items are the alien designs. Their names are Zoomer and Zorbit. So if you have the alien designs, and especially the binders, are worth big money, like $500-$600 big money for a fucking binder. Yeah, because people are fanatic about it. I've seen people sell coat hangers. I'll have you insert a photo of it in post, but it's a essentially cardboard coat hanger. It's just like this big yellow coat hanger with one of the characters' faces in the middle and then the hook coming out of the character head. I've seen people sell those for thousands of dollars because they weren't sold. They weren't like product. They were just used as display material to hang up like designs and stuff.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. People are wild about it. But the thing that's so funny is that Lisa has so much of the original promotional material, like all those statues, those like acrylic statue things that she has in her lobby were probably all in her Lisa Frank store, because the original brick and mortar Lisa Frank store was here at the Tucson Mall, and then they closed it obviously when the business started to go under. But they like kept all of that stuff. That if you look up promotional pictures or like old pictures of I think they have some on their social of like the original Lisa Frank store, in the middle there's this big gumball statue, and that's sitting in her lobby
I can't wait
right
to
now.
see that. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's very disappointing, actually, like digging into how Lisa Frank is as a person and also how she managed her business, because we could be living our best nostalgic lives, Hannah. I could be writing all of my notes about videos on Panda Painter stationery, but she won't do it. And it's disappointing.
And it's just like a good reminder that just because you're talented doesn't mean you'd be a good business owner or a good boss.
No.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in these kind of stories, not just this story, but in a lot of things. And I'm sure we've all had bad bosses at jobs before. And it's like often it comes out of them getting this position of power and then it going to their head, even though they have no business being in that position of power.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happens a lot, and we all know people like that. And it's just like, that's the vibe that this is giving me, of like, she's like, well, I'm a talented artist and I came up with something off the backs of others that I really that everybody really likes.
Yeah.
But she should have what's the word?
Outsourced.
Yes, thank you. That to other people and hired managers and other people to actually run the business for her.
The funny thing too is that she did outsource like all of the designing, basically, like in the later part of the company's life, like late 90s, early 2000s, before things started to really go bad. Lisa didn't design anything. She hadn't had her hands on any of the original designs in years, and she just outsourced it all to other graphic designers, and then would get mad at them and verbally dress them down if she felt like they weren't similar enough to her own work.
They shouldn't have been in the factory micromanaging factory workers. They should have been way farther away from that and had other people doing all that stuff and
Yeah.
then giving them the final product to just approve
Yes.
or disapprove. Like,
Yeah.
why are you so involved in that if you have such a big business?
Yeah. I think it was just very much like lack of, business skills, but also like just not being prepared for the business to be the size that it was. Which is why I said earlier, I think she was very much one of those people who was like right place, right time, and just so happened to get as successful as she was because she like, hit the sort of like media marketing lottery,
Totally.
And then she just fumbled the bag like again and again and again with trying to manage this business. And the funny part is that she's still trying to be this like clout chasing person, like keeping the business alive, I guess probably enough to make money to pay her bills and stuff, but is just not receptive at all to any of the things that loyal followers of her brand really want. Like even now, she's still trying to like chase the success of this company and like managing to do a bad job somehow, which is fascinating to me.
Isn't it weird that when we were kids in the 90s, we all thought that we should collect our Beanie Babies because we thought they'd be worth thousands someday, but the folder that you brought to second grade and then tossed at the end of the year because it got all ripped up is the thing that would be worth a lot of money now.
Yes. I've seen people in these Facebook groups who are all like collectors of Lisa Frank stuff squabbling over folders and stuff saying like, oh, well, there's writing in it and blah, blah, blah. And someone is like, oh, this is so disrespectful. I can't believe people would write in it. And people are like, reminder, they're children's items.
A second grader had it. What are you talking about?
Of course, there's scribbling in it. Someone used it in the third grade. Like literally calm down.
I remember I had this kitten folder once that my mom bought me, and I was obsessed with kittens as a kid. And my mom got me this folder with 2 kittens on it, and I would stare at that folder and pretend like the kittens were coming to life and like pretend like they were coming out of the folder into my
so
hand.
Cute.
Did you ever do weird shit like that as a kid?
I love that.
I was obsessed.
I actually had a polar bear collection when I was a kid because Rory, the polar bear, was one of my favorite designs. That was like a later 2000s design. But I loved him so much that I collected polar bear stuffed animals for like years. I just had them shoved in my closet as a kid. So I feel that.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's the story of how Lisa Frank is actually not a very good person.
Allegedly.
Don't look too much into your heroes because it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Big businesses are not mentors.
Almost always right. Terrible somewhere.
All right.
Okay.
So do you want to tell me your story?
I sure do.
Okay.
For those of you that know, you know, but most of you probably don't. I don't know. Who knows? I've been wrong before. I'm going to talk about Ken Wax today. You probably don't know who that is. So what inspired this, I also need to give a shout out and credit to the ones that helped me research the info for this. So a Swell Entertainment video came on my feed the other day. Remember Swell?
Love Swell.
Amanda,
yes.
Remember we met her at VidCon.
I know, and she's so cool.
She was the sweetest. She was so much shorter in real life than I even expected.
Same.
And she says how short she is on her channel. So but yeah, we saw her last September at Vid Summit.
Yes.
Did I say VidCon?
I don't
Summit.
know. I think, yeah.
She was like the highlight of our trip. She was so sweet. She was like, the thing about her is like you go up just to say hi and she'll instantly ask you like a question about some in-depth open-ended question to like start the conversation. She's a really great conversationalist. Anyway,
yes, she is. So
she came out with a video about Ken Wax. So I watched her video and that inspired me to talk about it today because I would like to talk about it. The other account is called Slamurai on TikTok, and I'll link them both in our further reading down below. But this person on TikTok makes really fantastic summary videos of recent dramas and stuff. So shout out to them. Okay, let's start because you don't even know who I'm talking about, do you?
No.
So there's this guy on TikTok. Okay. His name is Ken Wax. It's spelled W-A-K-S though, but it's pronounced Wax. But yeah, I kept thinking his last name was like W-A-X. W-A-X, yeah. He posted in March of this year a video about how 2 times now, he's sending out a warning to people in the area of Chicago, but specifically men, that someone, as he was leaving a bar, someone pulled up next to him, asked him if he wanted a ride, and when he said no, they sped off. And I know what you're thinking. This is going to go so much in a different direction of where you think it is.
Okay.
So he's making this video going, okay, this is now the second time that this has happened to me, and I've heard about other people having this same thing happen to them in this area. And I just want to warn you guys, if somebody pulls up next to you, do not get in their car if they offer you a ride, which, like, that's great advice, Ken. Yeah. Thank you. And he starts conspiring about how, quote unquote, this must all be connected.
If you are walking home alone by yourself at night,
and he starts implying that because this is happening elsewhere, that he believes that, and there's not only that, I guess I should say trigger warning for this story. I'm not going to go into detail like I would on my main channel, so nobody worry about that. But this does discuss a serial killer and people that have been dying in different areas of the United States and bodies being found. But again, I'm not going to go into any sort of graphic detail about the murders or the deaths, just so everybody knows. So this is, and I give full credit to Amanda for saying this in her video, but first, yes, that would be a very scary experience for anyone, male, female, or otherwise. But her instant thought was, that's just another day at the office for most women.
Literally.
We're all, or femme presenting, any, folks that leave a bar, that would be scary for us, but that's just misogyny culture, assault culture.
Anybody who's not a cis white man is just kind of confused why we need to give that advice in the first place.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not discrediting that scary experience. That is scary, especially when you're a cis white man and you're not used to that. Sure. I totally get it, but it was a little bit
it's kind of illuminating, I think, to the privilege there.
Well,
personally.
It's a little bit tone deaf.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Tone deaf?
But it felt a little tone deaf because it was kind of there's a lot of people that deal with that every day. Why are you making a TikTok about it?
Yes.
And the fact also, Amanda also made this great point that it was so when it's men that it's happening to, it's a serial killer. But when it's women that it's happening to, we're just that's a one-off, and that happens all the time. Nobody questions it because that's just part of our culture is right?
Yeah. Especially growing up as a small child and being told by other adults in your life, if you're being threatened or assaulted or whatever, yell fire instead of help because no one will come to help you. That kind of stuff is just accepted as part of our experience. Right. Yes. But when it happens to cis white men, then it's all of a sudden it's cause for concern and some deep-seated
call the local media and make this an international story. And again, I just want to be super clear. I am not saying that this isn't happening, because there is proof that there are bodies showing up in Chicago and other states that seem to be possibly connected, and they all seem to be men. Yeah. So obviously, serial killers sometimes go after men. Men can be killed just like women can and everything. But you guys get what we're saying. Okay, so the second part of this guy is that, so he says in his TikToks that he works at Walmart in the upper management part of Walmart, but he also has this startup app that he's working on that he was a co-founder of, or one of the founders, called
Hold on, this is Ken Wax.
This is Ken Wax, that guy that posted the video. About, yes. So that'll be relevant. But there is this theory going around. So back to the crimes right now and all this. So now there's a conspiracy going around that since this is happening and there's been some dead found in Chicago and other states, Ken Wax and others that are diving into this think that this might be related to the smiley face killers. Even if you know what that is, I'm going to explain it really quick.
Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar. That seems like a stretch, but okay.
It is. So the smiley face killers is just a conspiracy theory in true crime. Many years ago, this did actually happen where they were finding bodies that were dumped close to graffiti of smiley faces in various places. And because of that, people came up with, it's really a conspiracy theory because there's no evidence to support that they're really connected. And also a lot of people argue people make smiley faces all over the place. Like the odds of somebody dumping their body in a area where graffiti is prevalent, the odds of there being a smiley face are pretty high.
Yeah.
So it is really a conspiracy theory, but this is like the rabbit hole that he's going down.
Oh boy.
And he goes further down the rabbit hole. Ken Wax here is now posting video after video, and he's an armchair detective now. He's going down this rabbit hole of suddenly all of his videos are about this and how they all may be connected and how this must be a serial killer, to the point where this is all alleged, you know, this part is alleged. All that other stuff is literally, there's videos of it on his TikTok. But allegedly, a family member of one of the victims involved in this whole thing reached out to Ken and asked him, like, if he would do a Zoom call with them because they want to ask him, like, first of all, what is going on? And second of all, if you have information about our family member who was murdered, we would really love to know about that. That would be really great if you could give us some insight into that. And allegedly, I have no proof that the actual message we have, the screenshot of this message, is really from a family member. Like, we don't know for sure. This is not a fact, but allegedly Ken blocked them after he didn't show up to the Zoom call. He blocked the family member. Allegedly.
Wow. I really hope that that's not true, because that's not a good look.
That, I was almost like thinking people were being slightly dramatic about this whole thing until I saw that part. That's gross. If a family, I've had a family member reach out to me before about something in one of my videos, and it was a small part of a larger video, and they were super nice. All they wanted was that part of the video taken out, and I was like, absolutely. And I went, and it took a few hours, and I edited it out, and I was like, I'm so sorry, it's going to be there a couple hours because
the editing
YouTube
feature
takes forever. And I felt terrible because they DM'd me on Instagram, but I never check my DMs on Instagram.
I know.
And so they emailed me, and I, like, literally, it's not that hard. If they want you to stop talking about stuff, you just stop.
Also, like, that's the nature of the beast with that kind of content, is that like, it's not content that just exists as like a thought experiment. Like, it's real people's lives, you know? And I feel like you do a really good job of this. I feel like being respectful and being cognizant of that. But sometimes people are not, and it's so disheartening. Like, because it isn't that hard, you know?
Well, so the thing about this is that he's going viral at this point. All of these videos where he's talking about this are getting hella views. And if he really did block a family member, not only is that just very disrespectful to do to somebody who just wants to know what's going on by somebody connected, like, we don't think they had bad intentions, but it started making people believe that perhaps Ken's information was misinformation, because why wouldn't he want to relay that to the family if it was true? Like, why wouldn't you want to collaborate with the family if the same scary thing happened to you? And what if they were connected? Why wouldn't you want to talk to them about it unless you were putting out misinformation or you didn't know as much as you said you did?
Especially because he claims to be, or apparently, at least as far as I'm aware, claims to be doing this from a place of like advocacy and wanting to spread awareness about it and warn people.
That was his thing, was advocacy, raising awareness. We need to figure out who this is.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
So then, in the middle of one of his videos where he was actively talking about the investigation, and this is alleged to only because he's deleted the video, so I couldn't see the actual video.
Fair.
But this is what people, Amanda and Slammer, I both said that this happened. He had a video that is now deleted where he subtly, in the middle of the video, brings up his Foresight app. Yeah.
Like, in what context? Saying like, oh, this app that I made would be useful for this, or just like,
no,
by the way,
it's a travel planning app. So I have no idea, but somehow it came up, and he started kind of subtly advertising his app in the middle of these viral TikToks about an investigation. Dude. And Foresight didn't do much better because they supposedly made a social media post after this about how genius this was of Ken to do, because they got like 800 downloads in 48 hours after his video went out.
What is wrong with them?
Next page.
There's so many pages of notes.
So this is, yeah, it's so weird. Like this starts one place, but it like goes boop, 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 boop. And then it's just like
Yeah, I'm gathering
off.
that. This is a bit of a ride.
Yeah. So like I said, not only is this just all weird in general, but it's possible that he's posting misinformation and trying to advertise for his app. And it all gets weirder when he posts a video claiming that a private investigator came to his door at 8:30 p.m. on a Sunday night. He said he didn't know who it was. He looked at his camera and he didn't know who it was. So he opened the door and he was like, hey, what's up? And it's a private investigator that says he's with the Smiley Face Gang investigators, and that he tracked Ken down. He's in a black suit, and he tracked Ken down because he wants to recruit him into their group to help them investigate and find out what's going on.
Somebody just knocked on my door and it's 8:30 at night on
Everybody was like, I'm starting to wonder if any of this is true, because that story, you have to admit, sounds like absolute bullshit, right?
When we start pulling plot points from Men in Black, we're really we're starting to lose it for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. He almost had me until he said he was dressed in a black suit. Why would a PI dress in a black suit just to come see you? Like, that makes no sense.
Also,
and the Men in Black is a whole other separate alien conspiracy theory on its own. So, like, but dude.
Also, too, in the year of our Lord and Savior 2023, what fucking human being chooses to track down someone's address and show up physically rather than send a goddamn email? No one does that.
Or something, or a DM. Especially with how much in the news people have been getting unalived.
Yes.
Because they go into the wrong driveway. That's happened several times. So, like, I know. The whole thing just doesn't add up.
Okay.
So people are starting to now speculate that he is, again, doing this because he wants to go viral. And it's working, and it will continue to promote the app that he's trying to work on, which no doubt he'd rather be the app worker than work at Walmart.
Which, I mean, like,
most
wouldn't
likely.
we all? But also, there's an ethical way to get there, sir.
Well, he's done this way before all of this. He had another. He didn't do anything wrong way before this, but he had another video that went super viral that he kind of went down this conspiracy rabbit hole. It was about like some designer weights or something like that. And back in the day, he would do these, and then he tried to make a bunch of content on that same topic, but then the views started dying off.
Oh boy.
So like, he's always been kind of a clout chaser, it seems like, on TikTok. But again, like, there's nothing wrong with like the other videos that he was doing. I don't want to like bash him for something that I don't think was really unethical ground. And then it kind of all came to a head when he posted this update, another video. This is after the Men in Black video. He didn't even call it that, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Where he said he quote unquote cracked the case and families were going to get closure real soon. He claimed that the FBI was trying to recruit him from his TikTok work, but he showed proof of this from an email from the FBI, but we're pretty sure it was just him applying for a job at the FBI and getting the automatic email back. And so he just posted that as proof that the FBI was trying to recruit him.
Okay.
Ken and Forsyth have since parted ways, and he has now posted 2 updates / apologies to the channel, to his TikTok, about this. And he basically says that, honestly, the apologies by themselves were not bad. It's just that most people think they're probably bullshit because of all the other stuff.
Yeah.
The apologies on their own, he did like try to take responsibility for it. He said, I won't be making content about it anymore, but I promise all the information I have did go to the proper authorities. And I am really sorry by any of the families that were affected by me. By the way, what's it called? Sorry, Focusrite? No, Focusrite.
Foresight.
I was thinking of my Focusrite right next to me.
Yes. I was like, he's
Foresight.
partnered with Focusrite?
No, Foresight.
Yeah.
He specified that Foresight did not control anything he posted, that was totally separate. They didn't ask him to post that about the app, etc. But he was supposedly one of the people that created the app. So that's confusing, but whatever. And he was like, I won't be doing this anymore. I promise I'll just go on with normal updates. And I'm sorry, basically. Then his ex-girlfriend comes forward.
Oh, no.
His ex-girlfriend starts making TikToks and verifies that they dated for like 6 or 7 months. I'm not going to go into grave detail here because you can easily find her. People are tagging her on TikTok. Okay. But she basically said she alleged that he was extremely controlling in their relationship and like wanted her iPhone location on and everything.
Whoa.
And like all the time to know where she was at all times and like stuff like that. And so
that's a red flag.
So after those allegations, it's hard to believe his apology very well. And also, besides all of this, I also just want to talk about, before we bring this for open discussion, I also just want to talk about the dangers of speculating so hard on a case before information is out. Say what you want about the police department, but there is often a reason why they keep information away from the public.
Yeah.
And that's because if you're coming forward with information, you are giving the criminals a heads up about what's coming and giving them time to destroy evidence or leave for Mexico or Canada or what have you.
Yeah.
And the dangers of just doing that just for like clout is just like, in spite of all the other stuff that he did, like he could have hurt this investigation.
Yes. And caused more people to die.
At cost, right. And at the victims' families. Like, I can't imagine how frustrating that would be for victims trying to figure out what is going on with their family member. And there's somebody speculating about it all over TikTok. And Amanda brought this up, but it's very similar to like the Idaho murders where everybody went absolutely bananas with conspiracy theories and and now a psychic on TikTok is getting straight up sued by that teacher because she didn't even allege, she straight up accused her of all this stuff. And you didn't hear about that?
No.
Oh my gosh. TikTok, I won't go into it too far, but there was a TikTok psychic, a self-proclaimed psychic on TikTok who, when the Idaho murders were all going, was at the peak before they got the suspect. Yeah. She accused somebody at the school that there was homophobia involved. There was like, she accused it about because the teacher was supposedly gay and like straight up was like, yeah, she did it. I know she did it. And then when she was like, I'm going to sue you for defamation, she like doubled down and she was like, go ahead and sue me because I'm right. And I know that you carried out these murders and that they have the wrong guy. Well, yeah, so that's the danger, right? Of getting like all these, this is the clout chasing we're talking about, where it's like, can you not? Because that is so harmful to the victims' families. And we found out later there was a reason that the police didn't come forward. They had a suspect all along and they didn't come forward because they didn't want the suspect to find out.
Yeah, and to flee. The thing that's hard too is that I think like there is very much a space for like the internet sleuthing thing, right?
Yes.
Especially
they have
because
cases
like
on Reddit before.
Well, yeah, and like especially because police departments and like police officers are not always the most like effective or like personally ethical human beings.
Yes.
And so I think there's like a role for people to like, especially like to hold the proverbial powers that be accountable for like, no, you're not giving up on this investigation or writing it off or saying like, oh, can't figure it out. Oh, well, like I think the internet serves that powerful purpose sometimes of like holding people's feet to the fire when they're not doing a good enough job. But also like it's important for people to be doing that from a place of like responsibility and like caution, like you were saying, because you can sabotage that investigation, but also too because you can be so deeply hurtful to the people that are involved just because you're like dehumanizing everybody involved, like including the families and the victims, like these are real people and real people's fucking lives. Like it's not a joke. It's not like fun internet tea, like if you're gonna wade into that type of content, you should like be aware and like responsible. Also that he tried to promote his app, like what is that?
That's what people are the most angry about, honestly, is just that how inappropriate that was.
Yes.
And how, like, if you went viral, like, I get it. Like, tweets, like, some people, you know, when somebody's tweet goes viral, every single time you look at the first tweet under it and it's the author of the tweet promoting something, they're like, oh yeah, go check out my podcast, go donate to this, whatever, you know. I get that. Like, I do understand the, like, I mean, we make money off of getting views as well, so like we can't really poo-poo that. Fair. But I think there's a difference between doing that and like using that tragedy specifically to promote your app. Like, it's weird.
Also, there's a big difference between like realizing that your TikTok account is getting a lot of views and just pinning a separate video from a long time ago about your app to your account or whatever, so that people happen to come across it or whatever, you know? Exactly. As opposed to like dovetailing that into the content that you're making about a real death and tragedy. Like, that's like rancid vibes, sir. What is that?
Room. Yeah. Like, read the room, man.
That's rough.
So it's just,
wow.
It's bizarre. It's just Clout. It's just this. And he said himself that like the Clout kind of like, well, he said himself that he got like quote unquote lost in the sauce, you know, like kind of admitted that it did kind of go to his head essentially, and that he didn't do it responsibly. And I get it. I also think that if there's a possible serial killer in multiple states killing men, I don't think the FBI is going to just let that one go. Whereas like, I don't think it needs as much coverage from you. No.
Why don't we channel that energy to like missing and dying Indigenous women or something?
Indigenous women that are often, or Black women, or
any of the other marginalized communities that are being oppressed beyond belief right now.
Right. The ones that really like often, very, not always, but very often, their cases are just like, they ran away. Sorry.
But it's so clear that that's not what fucking happened, and it's just very much the ignorance and lack of care and compassion for the loss of those lives.
Yeah, right. And I also just have a hard time, like, the advocacy is great, but also I have a hard time believing that a case where people that's over state lines that the FBI would be involved in needs like
extra
lots and lots
attention,
of extra support.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that, I don't want to make that sound like read to the victims' families either, because I'm not saying their families don't deserve
of course they do.
Detective work, but it's kind of like the Gabby Petito thing, where even her dad was saying like, I appreciate all of this support and how gung-ho everybody's been, but also even her dad, in the midst of losing his daughter, said that I wish all women missing were treated with this much attention.
Yes.
And that's all I mean by it. That just like, I just want to be very careful that I'm not saying that the families that are involved in this don't deserve media attention and investigative work. I'm just saying they're hopefully going to get it. Like, and they don't.
And also, too, that, like, in this specific case about this person, it's not a bad thing necessarily, again, to, like, want to draw attention to these people's tragedy in their lives and, like, their worthiness of justice, right? But also that, again, if your only focus is in centering wanting more awareness, more advocacy for people who historically already have a lot of social power and are treated with a lot more advantage than marginalized people, maybe we need to look inward, right? Like, why is it that you don't care to also at the same time advocate for marginalized people, for oppressed people, for people who don't historically have power and are treated and taken seriously by law enforcement when there's a tragedy or a death, right? Like, to me, that's suspicious. It's not that these people aren't worthy or deserving of attention or like justice, like you were saying, but also that like so is everybody else, and so are the people, especially so, who, like, you know, we said earlier that their cases are just dismissed as like, oh, they ran away, case closed, we're not looking into it anymore. You know, like to me about this specific person,
more eloquently. That is exactly what I meant to say, but you put it into words so well that it's like we're just pointing out systemic issues, not the individual victim.
No. And also like, that like this particular person seems to be really in the sauce about things that only affect him personally, because the victims are people who resemble characteristics that he shares or identifies with, and has no care or interest beyond that, which again to me is like suspicious. I just don't like that, you know?
Right. I just find it
Weird
so
vibes.
interesting, and this isn't a dig at him, because I think a lot of people raised as men think this way. I just find that first part about it so interesting, that it doesn't even occur to them that that's a normal thing for other people in the world. The privilege that goes into that, the innocent privilege, I should say. It's not like on purpose being purposely ignorant, but like, I think just because they were socialized as men, I think they often just like the fact that doesn't even occur to them being like a very normal,
which honestly
existence
too,
for
I
us.
feel like
how many do you ever go in a parking garage without like your keys between your knuckles?
I park
ever?
under street lights. I make sure that my car is locked. I like put the cart in between me and the car door. Like all of the things, all of the things that we've all been told. But also too, I feel like it's mostly a like cis het white man thing. Because like even like AMAB people who are assigned male at birth but are non-binary or gender non-conforming or like trans women, those people are also aware, right? That like the world is an unsafe place. It's mostly people who like were granted that privilege at birth and are continuing to benefit from that privilege without having to be made aware of what other people's experiences are, you know? Like being anybody who occupies any type of marginalized identity, you become aware very, very quickly about how unsafe the world is for you just to exist, just to be minding your own good goddamn business, you know? And like, it's just, I guess that's the thing that is like hard for me too, is that it's just disappointing to realize that like even now, after all of the advocacy and awareness that people are trying to bring, that there's still people who are like in genuine good faith, well maybe not good faith in his case, but like, you know, genuinely making this content, thinking that you're blowing the lid off of something by telling people like, don't be in the parking lot late at night by yourself, it's unsafe. Like, hello. Like, welcome to our entire lived experience. You know, it's frustrating and disappointing.
Absolutely. And just, I mean, personal anecdote, I have had scary things happen to me, but like the times that scary things have happened to me and I've been dating somebody, one time I was in my early 20s and there was this really, really creepy guy in a Safeway that I was at, and it was like later at night, or it wasn't late at night, but it was dark, and there was just this guy that was in there, and he was staring at me, and he was standing by the entryway just staring at me.
That's the worst when they do that.
So, well, he looked very disheveled and old, and he was really, really creepy. And I asked the checker, I was like, straight up, like, do I need to worry about that guy? Because he is straight up staring at me with no shame. Like, absolutely wants me to see that he's trying to be creepy, right?
Terrifying.
And they were like, he's in here a lot, he's harmless, but yeah, he's really creepy. And I don't remember all the details, but I remember I just like left the store and like ran to my car, and I was so freaked out though. Like that was really scary for me. And I talked to my boyfriend at the time about it, and the lack of empathy and the complete confusion about why that was even remotely scary to him was like very invalidating.
Yes.
The fact that he was just like, I mean, he was just like, it was probably, he minimized it. He was like, it was probably just some freak, like, blah, 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 blah. And I know. Yeah. I'm not with that person.
I was going to say, I'm really glad that you're not dating that person anymore, because you deserve better.
Well, I see that now. That should have been a red flag, honestly, at the time.
That's fair.
And then I had another instance where I've talked about this on my channel before, but like, it was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. Was I was driving home from Seattle, and I was clearly, it's hard to find. This was before GPSs were on our phones 100% of the time. Or I had a GPS on my phone, but it wasn't good at really telling me where to go, you know, before it was like updated. Yeah. And there's some twists and turns to get out of Seattle to find you back on the freeway. There's a lot of one-way streets. Ugh. It's very difficult. So I was taking a few like wrong turns and had to go around. And there was these two young guys that were tipped off to the fact that
you were lost.
That I was lost, and they started following me at a very like could not see their headlights because they were riding my ass that hard.
What?
I think they honked at me, but I can't remember. But I was like going around the block and they were following me. I stopped at a stoplight and I look over and this other girl sees what's going on and she gave me like this look of solidarity, but she was like, just ignore them. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, I don't know, dude. And I literally had my phone out ready to call 911. I pulled over to let them pass me and they pulled over behind me.
No.
I got my phone out and I was about to call 911, like literally had it in my hand, and then they swerved around and drove off.
Jesus.
They literally, the anger I felt at the fact that they were literally doing that because I was a woman alone, and they did that just to scare me and feel powerful.
Yep.
They literally just did that because they wanted to feel scary and powerful, and they laughed and thought it was funny. Oh. They thought it was funny. I thought I was gonna die.
Yes.
I thought that was my last night on earth. Like, stop minimizing. And I remember I cannot remember who I told, but I told like any woman I tell, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah, what
any
the fuck,
guy that
man?
I told, they're just like, yeah, that sucks. Like, that's really like what it is. Like, oh yeah, that sucks. They do not all, but many cannot even comprehend the fear because that would never happen to them. Nobody would ever just follow them like that and harass them just because they thought it was funny.
Well, and the thing is that even if they did, even if someone did do that to like a cis het man who is used to occupying that place of privilege, they wouldn't feel the same thing that people like us or people who are marginalized or oppressed feel, because there is a very real lack of social power that we have. Like the thing that I said earlier about how like I was taught from a young age that if you're being cornered in an alleyway, you yell fire and not help, because people love to watch shit burn down, but nobody wants to get involved in your like assault or whatever. Like they don't understand that, and they don't feel that way because they don't have that lack of power. Like that's the thing that really gets me, is that if me in my car did the same thing to a man, they wouldn't take it seriously. That fear, that like sinking feeling in your stomach, they're not going to get that because they know that they're not in that like lower place of power on like the like social societal hierarchy. It wouldn't even occur to them that that's dangerous, you know? And like that's the thing that really fucking gets me, makes my fucking blood boil, is just like the lack of awareness for the way that affects people.
Yeah. And the feelings, I felt so surprised by the feelings that I had after that. Like I was surprised that I felt like if I had heard that happen to somebody else, like I think I would like to think that I would have like deep empathy for that and how scary that would be.
Yeah, of course.
But when it happens to you, actually you don't realize how humiliating it feels that people are laughing at you and dehumanizing and objectifying that. I'm just scared. It's so funny that we thought, oh, that's hilarious, she thought we were gonna fucking murder her.
Your abject horror is their entertainment.
That was the first thing that went through my mind, was that something worse would happen. That they were gonna get out of their car and fucking it was disgusting. And I hope,
awful, dude. I'm so sorry.
I hope they learned. I just hope, honestly, deep in my heart, I just hope they moved on to become young men and men that were helpful to society and learned and maybe look back on instances, because I was not the only person they were doing that to. I'm sure they were going around doing that to other people, and I just hope that they look back on that and cringe and think about how
I hope so too. Go to therapy.
That behavior that is. Go to therapy, because if you're doing that and that's your idea of a joke, you need actual help.
Yeah, you have stuff that you need to work through, my friend, and that is a shame-free thing. We all do it. We all have stuff, but like that is worthy of looking inward. I just hope they stopped and didn't do that to other people, because that was the most dehumanizing experience. So, damn.
Okay, I don't know how we got on this topic. We've been recording for like an hour and a half now, so we should probably wrap it up.
That's okay.
Because
wow, thank you for walking me through that, because I feel like that was the most succinct explanation I've gotten of that whole situation.
Oh,
because I did try to look at some of the, after I saw that one-off commentary video, and I was like, I'm confused. I was like, I don't know, maybe I should know about this. And I was like, never mind. It's all too confusing. But I feel like I've grasped most of it. Thanks for telling me that.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? That, besides all the like rabbit hole. internal misogyny that goes on with that story. The story itself, just
Besides that.
the stuff that people do for clout.
I know. Yeah,
is
that's like today's PSA is
weird.
don't let the desire for clout or money make you behave in
Yeah.
ways that aren't reflective of your best self, my friends, because it'll do
Yes.
something to you.
Great way of putting it. Thanks. We hate clout chasers.
We do. We hate that a lot. Wow.
All right.
All right.
Should we call it?
Yeah, I think we're wrapping it up.
All right. Leave us a comment, you guys. Like
Yes.
the video. if
And
you
rate our
liked it.
podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Please.
Thank you very
because
much
we're
for
so
being
cute
here.
and we're asking you nicely. All right.
Thanks,
we'll see
everybody.
you guys next week.
Mhm.
Bye.
See you then. Bye.